In conjunction with the Britfield players, we the kids are proud to present Britfield and the Lost Crown. This radio show is designed to bring to life a powerful story promoting the themes of family, friendship, and courage. The Britfield radio show is meant to engage and entertain you with an inspiring story while offering a fun family experience. The setting is a special library, special because, well, often the readers are visited by authors from the past. Today, we'll visit with kids from We the Kids who are studying to be journalists, focusing on past history. An author from the past has just joined the group, in fact. Let's listen in to find out who the kids are talking to and what they're talking about. Have fun exploring the world of Britfield and the Lost Crown.
The scene, an old library, dimly lit with warm, golden light. C.S. Lewis, a distinguished gentleman with a kind face and a twinkle in his eye, walks into the library, his eyes scanning the room as he takes in the rows of old books. He notices a group of kids sitting at a table, their faces aglow with excitement as they pore over a book. C.S. Lewis approaches them, a gentle smile on his face. Imagine C.S. Lewis standing in front of a group of students in an old library.
Oh, welcome, young minds. I'm delighted to be speaking with you all today in this venerable library. As you sit around these shelves of ancient tomes, I hope you'll feel the weight of history and the thrill of discovery. I am C.S. Lewis. I come to this library to read the stories of authors of previous centuries to learn what life was like in that time.
I am Sammy, Mr. Lewis. Yes, we never dreamed we would meet you. It is exciting to learn about the changes we are experiencing today. I can't imagine life without my phone. There were no phones during the 1800s. We are lucky to have so many wonderful inventions that make our lives better.
Oh, yes. I believe you've met Jane Austen. She would be surprised at this invention called a phone. She's a wonderful storyteller, isn't she? I'm so glad to have had the pleasure of reading some of her incredible stories. Reading them helped me write some of my own stories.
Libby here, Mr. Lewis. You wrote so many stories. Some about the past, some about the present, some religious, and some fantasy. My favorite was the Chronicles of Narnia in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You wrote so many great novels.
But please, do tell me, what brings you young folks to this library today? Are you here to learn about great authors of our time, or perhaps discover new stories and adventures?
Hi, Mr. Lewis. This is fun to meet you. I am Wyatt. I remember Chronicles of Narnia. That is a series like the series we are reading today. Britfield and the Lost Crown by author Chad Stewart. Wow. Both the stories are about a child trying to gain back their lost heritage.
Now, I must ask you, my curious young friends, what do you know about Mr. Stewart and his wonderful novels? Have you read any of his other books? You know, I've always believed that the greatest treasures in life are not the things we possess, but the ideas, the stories, the people that shape us. And what better place to explore these stories and the treasures that are found in this library?
Yes, I have read his novel, and now we are listening to the story. Reading the old stories helps us to understand that no matter what century you live in, many of the life stories are the same. Are you familiar with Britfield and the Lost Crown?
Oh, Britfield of the Lost Crown stories, you say. I'm afraid I don't know anyone by that name, nor any book by that title. Was it written in my time? I must say, the name Britfield and the Lost Crown does have a certain ring to it.
Britfield and the Lost Crown is a book written currently about the adventures of orphan Tom, who learns that his parents might still be alive. The story is about Tom and Sarah's adventures to find them.
A library is not just a repository of knowledge, it's also a gateway to imagination. Think of the countless worlds that have been created in the pages of these books. Worlds of wonder, magic, of adventure. And think of the characters that inhabit these worlds. Heroes, villains, lovers, friends. Tell me more about this book you are listening to.
Wow, C.S. Lewis, I am so excited. I'm Jack. Let me catch you up. We are listening to the Britfield Adventures. Tom and his friend Sarah escaped from the orphanage run by the evil Mr. and Mrs. Grievous. The police are now chasing them.
So, as you listen to this story, I invite you to explore, discover, and dream. Put yourself into the story. Use your imagination. I promise you, you'll find a world that's wonderful, full of magic, full of possibilities.
Mr. Lewis, we are so excited. Mr. Lewis, I'm Mallory. Oh, I can't imagine how Tom feels learning that his parents might still be alive after living in an orphanage being subject to evil. But it is great to know that Tom, just like in Narnia, will never stop searching. Can you stay and listen with us?
Yes, it would be my pleasure, for I'm delighted to converse with you on matters of literature, faith, and life.
This is author C.R. Stewart. Enjoy listening to Britfield and the Lost Crown, a fast-paced, exciting adventure that will transport you from the smoldering crags of Yorkshire, through the heart of England, and finally to the magnificent shores of Dover. One of the most awarded books in fiction, Britfield is about family, friendship, and courage. This presentation is in partnership with We the Kids, a national organization that has inspired hundreds of children by involving them and their parents in exciting radio, TV, and on-site projects.
Tom and Sarah sit on a couch as Hainsworth walks around his room.
Well then, I think you owe me an explanation.
Sir, I'll explain everything. But can we help Sarah first?
Yes, of course. I'll get some ice for her ankle, an aspirin, and perhaps some tea?
An hour later, Sarah's foot was wrapped and she was sleeping. Tom walked around the room, telling Professor Hainsworth about his horrible life growing up in the orphanages, his time at Weatherly, Mr. and Mrs. Grievous, rescuing Sarah, Detective Gowerstone, finding the balloon, and anything else he could think of.
That's incredible, Tom. The things you've both endured at Weatherly. Horrible place, just horrible. Despicable people, those Grievouses. I can't believe things like that still go on in England. And now you'd like to get to London? Start a new life?
Yes, sir.
Hainsworth stands, pours a cup of tea, and hands it to Tom.
I suppose if I ever ran away, London is where I would go. Spectacular city.
Sarah slowly awakes from her sleep.
Good, you're up. How do you feel?
Much better. Thank you.
Hainsworth glances at the stacks of ungraded papers, plops back down in his armchair, and lets out a groan.
Is everything all right?
It's nothing. Just never-ending work.
As Hainsworth pours Sarah a cup of tea, he's struck by an idea.
Did you say you have a balloon?
Yes, on the outskirts of town.
That sounds quite adventurous.
That's one way to put it.
Hainsworth grabs a map and sets it on the table.
Where exactly is it located?
I think it's around here, on this farm, by Magdalen College.
Yes, I know exactly where that is.
But we're out of propane, and the balloon is probably guarded by policemen.
That's a fascinating problem. In need of a solution.
It won't be long before Gowerstone searches this building. He won't stop until he finds us.
Why is this detective so determined to capture 2 orphans?
That's what we've been trying to figure out.
Hainsworth stands, stares at the stacks of papers, then walks around, contemplating.
I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you.
Yeah?
I'll pay for a propane truck and get you to your balloon, if you allow me to escort you to London. Sounds like you could use some help.
Tom and Sarah exchange an excited look.
Absolutely! It's a deal, Professor!
Then let's make haste!
Hainsworth grabs his wallet, raincoat, and umbrella.
That's all you're bringing?
That's all I need. Wait here for a moment.
Hainsworth walks to his door, slowly opens it, and makes sure that the coast is clear.
Okay, let's go.
After hiring a propane truck to drive them to the farm, Professor Hainsworth told the policeman guarding the balloon that he saw 2 suspicious-looking children hiding down the street. The officers instantly pursued, leaving the area. Hainsworth then had the propane tanks refilled, paid the driver, and he drove away. Now, Hainsworth and Sarah stand in the balloon basket while Tom holds the canvas. Sarah ignites the blast valve and pulls on the rope. The canvas slowly fills until it rises overhead. However, police cars with flashing lights are seen in the distance.
They're coming. Tom, we need to hurry.
Tom unties the rope and climbs into the basket. Policemen arrive and rush toward the location. Tom releases the last rope and the balloon takes off. 2 officers remove their guns and aim, when Garrowstone runs up behind them.
Hold your fire!
The balloon rockets skyward as Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth gaze over the side. Seeing them, Garrowstone shakes his head and lets out a lengthy sigh.
How could they escape again?
Sir, we have a few police cars pursuing, but we'll lose them over Stoner Park. There's a terrible storm coming.
I've taken care of that. Now, find out everything you can about the man helping them. Who is he and why he's involved?
Should I call the airport?
No, just bring me my car.
Another policeman hands Garrowstone a cell phone.
Sir, urgent call. It's the Prime Minister. Just what I needed.
The balloon soars through the cloudy sky as the slated rooftops of Oxford shrink.
Marvelous. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well done, you two. What a remarkable escape.
We never would have made it without you.
In times of trouble, the best solution is forward. Now, let's get to London. You two can manage this thing, right?
Tom shares a nervous glance with Sarah.
Yeah, of course.
While Tom and Sarah work the ropes and funnel, maneuvering in and out of the clouds, Hainsworth studies Tom's map.
Gauging the altitude, distance, and wind currents, we should be to London in less than 2 hours. That is, if we don't run into any problems.
Removing the paper from his pocket, Tom examines the name Britfield.
Maybe the professor knows about the name. Ask him. Professor, a few days ago when I was at Weatherly, Mr. Grievous told me that my parents might be alive and mentioned the name Britfield.
That's a name I haven't heard in years.
Then you recognize it?
Yes, but it's never talked about.
Why?
Because of a danger associated with it. The subject is forbidden to be taught, and any available information ends in 1837, when Princess Victoria became Queen of Great Britain. Since then, most documents about the Britfields were destroyed.
I don't understand.
It has been said that the Britfields are the true heirs to the British throne.
I've never read about that.
Few, if any, have. It's a secret not many know about.
The sky darkens as the temperature drops. Thunder rumbles, lightning flashes, and rain showers down. Hainsworth opens his umbrella, but the wind rips it from his hands.
Blasted weather. I hate rain.
You live in England but don't like rain?
One of the unfortunate dispositions of this glorious country.
What should we do?
Let's maneuver away from this tempest and land somewhere safe.
Trying to control the balloon, wind sweeps it upward and into the storm. Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth grab the basket as a turbulent gale batters the balloon, knocking them around like a kite caught in a hurricane. Lightning slices the sky, followed by sharp cracks of thunder.
Do something! The balloon's gonna be ripped apart!
Tom pulls on the ropes but has no control.
I'm trying! Nothing's working!
Hold on!
Arriving at 10 Downing Street, London, Garrowstone walks into an office. The Prime Minister sits at a desk.
You wanted to see me?
Yes. With everything happening, it's time we talk. I know you have an impeccable record, Detective. You've always succeeded in capturing your adversary and finding missing children. Well, except for...
That was 10 years ago.
Regardless, we're privileged to have you on the force.
Thank you.
But this whole thing with the orphans is completely out of control. I mean, all this trouble for just 2 children. You've scoured the countryside, used a local airport, had policemen searching Oxford, and you still haven't caught them.
It's a complicated case. You need to trust me.
If this leaks to the press and comes out in the papers, it'll be a political nightmare. Not just for me, but for you too. If the public finds out that you're chasing 2 orphans across England, it'll get ugly. It's simple things like this that end careers.
I understand. I just need a little more time.
You've got 2 days, Garrowstone. After that, I'll need to look out for myself.
The storm continues above the countryside. Violently shaken, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth grasp the basket. Sarah peers over the side, searching for a clearing.
We need to land! What about over there? What's that building, Professor?
That, my dear, is Windsor Castle.
Maybe not such a good idea. We don't have a choice. It's there or nowhere. But we'll be arrested.
No need to worry. It's time that I visit an old friend.
Desperately working the controls, Tom yanks the descent cord again. The hot air escapes and the balloon finally descends. Rapidly dropping, it scrapes and bounces along the soggy grass in front of Windsor Castle before it stops at the front entrance.
Quick, let's tie it down so it doesn't blow away.
By the time Tom and Sarah finish securing the balloon with ropes and stakes, armed royal guards surround them. Frightened, Tom and Sarah stand motionless. However, Hainsworth remains calm. The royal commander approaches them.
You're trespassing on royal property. You're under arrest and will be held until the local police remove you from the grounds.
Not the welcome we hoped for.
I told you.
My good man, there's no need for this. If you would be so kind as to contact Philip Rothenshire.
What does Mr. Rothenshire have to do with? He's very busy.
As you can see, so are we.
Hesitant, the commander pulls a radio from his belt and speaks into the receiver.
It's Robert, front entrance. Have Mr. Rothenshire come here, immediately.
A few minutes later, Philip, dressed in a raincoat and Wellingtons, walks over, followed by the first footman. Shocked, Philip examines the balloon.
What is this all about? You know how busy Professor Hainsworth, what are you doing here?
A very long story, my good friend. How about inviting us in, and I'll explain everything.
Yes, of course. It'd be my privilege, Professor.
Philip turns to the commander and nods.
Disengage, men.
The guards lower their weapons and stand at attention. Hainsworth climbs over the basket and embraces Philip. Absorbed in conversation, the two march toward the arched entryway. Tom and Sarah hurry to catch up.
That was a bit awkward.
You think?
Everyone enters Windsor Castle. The inside is like an ancient museum with antiques and priceless artwork. Adding to the regality is the Christmas decor, including 6-foot wooden nutcrackers and Royal Stuart tartan. The effect is magical.
I hope we're not imposing. I know we've put you in quite a predicament.
For you, Professor, I'm willing to make any sacrifice. Fortunately, the royals are gone this week. I can take a few liberties.
Excellent. Let me introduce my friends. This is Tom, a very talented and resourceful young man, and Sarah, a refined and delightful young woman. This is Philip Candor Rothenshire, a 4th-generation butler and superintendent of Windsor Castle. His relatives have been associated with the royal family for centuries.
Philip stares at Tom for a moment, sensing a familiarity, then shakes both the children's hands.
I'm honored to have you as guests. After you wash up, change into new clothing, and have dinner, you may stay tonight.
Wonderful. That's settled.
Philip snaps his fingers. The first footman hurries over.
Yes, sir. Take Professor Hainsworth, Tom, and Sarah to the state apartment. Run a bath for each of them, and make sure they have a change of clothing. When they're ready, bring them to the Waterloo chamber.
Right away, sir.
Smiling, Tom, Sarah, and Hainsworth follow the first footman to a beautiful marble staircase with oil paintings of the royal monarchy hanging on the wall. Returning later that night to Radcliffe Camera, Oxford, Gowerstone storms into his temporary headquarters. 3 policemen stand at attention.
Where have you been, sir? We've been trying to contact you.
I was detained by the Prime Minister.
Gowerstone studies a computer screen, showing a map of England and a flashing dot at Windsor Castle.
Because of the electronic tracker you hid in the balloon basket, we've traced them to Windsor Castle. What are they doing there?
I've no idea. The way this case is going, I've learned to expect the unexpected. Are the royals in residence?
No, sir. They're at Buckingham Palace.
Good. We still have a few loyal contacts at Windsor, correct?
Yes, sir.
Update them about the situation and have them secure the children until the morning. Also, notify the local police about the circumstances. The Prime Minister demanded that we keep things quiet. We'll head there first thing in the morning. Now, what have you found about the man helping the children?
His name is Dr. Randolph Churchill Hainsworth, a professor at Trinity College.
Why is the professor involved in this? He has no idea the danger he's in.
Sitting in the elegant library at Windsor Castle, Philip stands by a roaring fireplace enjoying a glass of cognac. Wearing a new suit, Hainsworth relaxes in a chair. Mahogany shelves with leather-bound books line the walls. Entering the room, Tom is dressed in new pants, a new shirt, and polished shoes. Sarah wears an emerald dress, matching hair ribbon, and new shoes.
How was your dinner?
Fantastic. I don't know if food could taste so good. Thank you for everything. The hot bath, the new clothes, and the best meal I've ever had.
You're welcome. We stock all types of clothing for just such occasions.
Professor, how do you know Philip?
He was one of my students at Oxford. Although he struggled at first, he worked hard and became an excellent scholar. I'm proud of him.
At first, our welcome seemed like a disaster.
Remember, Tom, a little faith and patience will get you a long way. This morning, I was overwhelmed by work. Tonight, I'm with a fine young man and enchanting young woman at Windsor. You two have made me very happy.
What about your job?
I'll worry about that later.
Tomorrow morning, I'll make sure the balloon is repaired and ready for travel. But may I suggest you take a train?
We'll discuss that later.
Lost in his thoughts, Tom gazes at the fire.
What's on your mind, Tom?
It's what we talked about earlier. I'm curious what else you know about the Britfields.
Alarmed by the name, Philip stares at Tom.
From what I remember, the Britfields were one of England's oldest families, going back to the 1100s. It was said that they have a strong claim to the English throne. Philip, with your royal knowledge, you must have something to contribute.
It's all speculation, but when the Stuarts took power in 1603, they felt threatened by the claim. So, many of the Britfields were arrested and imprisoned. Some were even killed. Overpowered, the Britfields relocated to different parts of England.
Why didn't they fight back?
There were many battles, but the Britfields were outnumbered and eventually betrayed. However, they continued to fight. As they prepared to take the English crown, the Civil War broke out in 1642 and the country was thrown into chaos.
Professor, you mentioned 1837. Why is that date so important?
It was the year Victoria became queen. Because she ascended from the Hanover royal line, which was mostly German, many people believed that her claim was unlawful after centuries of fighting. It was the moment the Britfields had waited for.
Well, they obviously didn't retake the throne, so what happened?
The Britfields gathered from all parts of the country, offering countless historical documents and undisputable proof. But Lord Torrington, one of the Queen's guardians, hired mercenaries to hunt down and eliminate every remaining Britfield. He burned their documents and erased any traces of their existence.
That's horrible. What finally became of them?
From what I recall, a few Britfields escaped and vanished into hiding.
And there isn't any information since then?
Colleges were forced to remove the name from their curriculum. Scholars were discouraged from mentioning it. If it wasn't recorded, it wasn't taught. And so goes most of history.
Philip becomes tense, his eyes dancing around the room.
You must know more, Professor.
My areas of expertise are physics and science, but I do have a colleague at King's College London who specializes in this field.
Can we visit him?
Well, I don't see why not. It might be helpful to.
Why bring up all this historical nonsense? The entire thing is nothing but ancient rumors and conspiracy theories.
My friend Tom has been an orphan his entire life. He was recently informed that his parents might be alive, and was given the name Britfield.
There's nothing known about the Britfields for the last 150 years. They vanished, as you said, and it should be left that way.
Always an antagonist, Philip. I like that about you. The name and connection may indicate nothing. However, it's worth investigating.
Yes, you're right. I apologize. If you'll excuse me, I need to check up on something.
After Philip leaves the room, he makes a call on his cell phone.
Professor, don't you think Philip was acting strange?
Being part of a royal staff carries unusual requirements. They live in a world most of us could never understand.
But his reaction to our conversation was a bit intense.
Think nothing of it. Philip's always been, well, odd.
Tom stretches his arms and lets out a deep yawn.
It's late. You two should get some rest. I'll see you in the morning.
As Tom and Sarah leave, Hainsworth remains in his comfy chair, enjoying the warm fire and peaceful atmosphere. Now midnight, Philip stands outside on a patio terrace, speaking to Mr. Coldwell, a heavy-set, middle-aged man dressed in an overcoat. The moon breaks through the clouds.
Why have you called me here tonight?
It's regarding the Britfield incident 10 years ago. You did take care of the problem we hired you for, right?
Yes, of course. Why do you ask?
I've been inside with an old professor of mine and 2 children.
What does that have to do with me?
Well, the boy looks very familiar. His eyes and facial features. He's an orphan, but for some reason he brought up the name Britfield. Why?
Surprised by the comment, Coldwell anxiously paces.
As I recall, you were generously paid and told us the situation was handled.
Yes. And I was promised it would never be brought up again.
I've never had a reason. After you kidnapped the child, you disposed of the body, correct? Left no traces?
There was one detail left unfinished.
Philip seizes Coldwell by the overcoat lapels.
Unfinished? What are you telling me?
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
What?
I grabbed the boy, just like we had planned, but I couldn't kill him. So I took him to an orphanage. I paid the caretaker to never ask questions or contact the authorities.
Then the Britfield heir could still be alive. You careless fool! Do you have any idea the severity of this situation? After all these years, thinking the true royal bloodline was dead.
For all we know, the child died years ago at the orphanage.
Thanks to you, we don't know anything. Your incompetence is unforgivable. When the committee hears about this, it'll be out of my hands.
What do you want me to do?
You need to send your men back to that orphanage, find that child, and deal with it.
But what about your guests?
I don't want to take any chances. I'll deal with them in the morning.
I'm Mary. This is exciting, Mr. Lewis.
Oh, my dear friend, I couldn't agree more. The situation is indeed dire, but I must say that I am heartened by the compassion and dedication of their well-being. Please tell Mr. Chad Stewart that he wrote a most delightful adventure story. For that, I am pleased to have known him.
I never thought Tom could be the missing heir, just like in the Chronicles of Narnia. Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, for joining us. We hope to see you again. This has been so much fun.
Good show, everyone. I'm Cowis, your We the Kids reporter here in London, and we're delighted to have had you join us for another episode of Britfield and the Lost Crown. Do join us next week, won't you? Cheerio, and thank you for listening in.
We hope you enjoyed our interpretation of Britfield and the Lost Crown. The podcast for you to share will be available on americaoutloud.news/We the Kids and wethekids.us websites. And also, we have an exciting gift for you. Anyone who makes a donation on our We the Kids website will be entered to win a signed copy of the Welcome to the World of Britfield trilogy series. There will be 3 drawings held on December 15th. You can purchase the series at wethekids.us. And please remember to include We the Kids in the memo. We invite you to join us next week for the next segment of Britfield and the Lost Crown. To learn more about Britfield Adventures, please visit our website at wethekids.us. Happy holidays from all of us at Britfield Adventures and We the Kids.